Hello, and welcome to Sponge Stories, the podcast for face painters by face painters. I'm Siobhan, the face behind Theatrics Faces, and I'm on a mission to lift the lid on what it really takes to build a face painting business, the good, the messy, and everything in between. Each episode, I'll be chatting to artists, industry experts, and real working face painters about the things that we don't always talk about. Pricing struggles, burnout, confidence, boundaries, growth, and how to actually make this job work for your life. So whether you're painting your first full face or juggling a fully booked diary this year, you're in the right place. Let's get straight into today's episode. So hello, and welcome to this episode of Sponge Stories. Today I am joined by Millie Rose, the founder of Fantastic Faces up in Hull. So since winning the Prince's Trust Enterprise Award in 2019, Millie's grown her business from a solo face painting hustle into a full creative brand with a team, a dedicated party space and events across Yorkshire. We're going to be chatting all about building a business as a single parent, growing a team, funding and grants, and what it really takes up to level up in the face painting industry. So welcome to the podcast, Millie.
Hello, Siobhan. It is lovely to speak to you. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you. It's exciting because you're in a really cool podcast studio because your partner's into podcasting. So you look all professional and I am in my bedroom.
Well, we've got, I work with a production team, which, my partner owns.
So do you use that a lot for because on your I was stalking your website last night, obviously. Stalking or research,
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's some really cool videos on here, like where you walk in and you see around the space and stuff. Were
Yeah.
they all filmed your partner?
Yeah, so I work with in it a lot. We met before I actually, I met him as a business before
Mm.
we got together as partners. So I was doing a business course back in, oh gosh, it was like 2018. And yeah, they'd recorded me as part of like a talking head video for this course to advertise this course. And I was on a thing saying like, no man, I'm independent. I'm going to get my business sorted because I was still a single parent at the time. And I was like, right, I'm just going to invest into my business this year. I'm going to learn as much as I can. And then next thing I knew, this guy was like humming a little song and putting a microphone on me, and I was like, "Who is that camera guy?" And so I asked, "Oh, do you do business filming?" And I got his details, and then I asked him out for a pint, and that was that. So from sort of like starting off just on a business relationship, we've been together. Gosh, it's 8 years now, a long
Oh
time.
my God. It always comes and you're not looking for it, right? When you
That's
say,
it.
that's it,
Yeah.
I've had enough, I don't want anything.
Yeah.
Right, let's jump into the questions because otherwise I'll be deep diving into your love life.
Yeah,
That's
I
not
will
the point of
talk for
the
hours.
podcast. Right, so for anyone that hasn't come across Fantastic Faces before, can you tell us a bit about yourself and how you first got started in face painting and why?
Yeah, so Fantastic Faces is a UK-based entertainment company. We specialise obviously in face painting. I am an artist by trade, so I love portraiture, murals, body painting, and I kind of grew the company and the brand because I found painting canvases quite isolating. And I loved the element of face painting where you could go and meet people and it was a bit different every time. So I first picked up a face painting brush when I must have been 17, and I had been asked to design the makeup for a dance competition because every other sixth former was a choreographer in this dance competition because we'd gone right through from year seven every year doing this dance competition. It's called Rock Challenge. It was like a national competition. And the teacher who was in charge of it knew that I was absolutely awful at dancing. I have two left feet, but I had great creative expression, which is what they liked about it. That's why I got in every year because I was like a drama student. And she said, "Look, I've got a really special project for you. We've got enough choreographers, but I would love you to design the hair and makeup." And that year we were doing, I think the story of creation. So there was
Mm.
planets, there was animals, and I'd spent weeks and weeks designing all these makeup concepts and hair. And I was able to sort of facilitate that with, I think there was about 80 students doing this dance competition.
Wow.
And I just loved it. I got given this really scabby old Snazaroo box by the PTA. And they said, "Oh, there you go, you can use that." And I had some parent helpers. So I'd given them my designs. I said, "Oh, this is what we're going to do." And I just loved it. And so, yeah, I always had that as like a treasured memory. And then I was always asked to do the fundraisers at the school. They said, "Oh, Millie's the one to ask for face painting. She'll get us the commission for the
Yeah.
table and things like that." And then, yeah, I left school at 18. It was the year the fees went up for university. So it was 2011, I think, 12. And I didn't want to pay 9 grand a year I couldn't afford to pay 9 grand a year to go and
Mm.
study. And then I found myself in quite a difficult relationship where I ended up being a single parent after the relationship finished. And so over that period of time, I'd kind of lost a lot of confidence. I was a single parent, new mum on my own with this child that kept crying and trying to navigate that without any sort of work experience or confidence in my ability to create. And I tried a couple of various jobs being a single parent, but it was really difficult with the childcare. And then someone asked me to help with a fundraiser at a fire station event. And my mum's friend, again, with the scabby box of face paints that's been there since probably the 1980s, said, "Oh, here you go. You can have these. They've been in my attic for years." I didn't know any better at the time, obviously. And yeah, I did this fundraising event. I think I made about £100 for the fire station, and I just loved it. And then
Mm.
I'd been creating canvases, and I'd started painting again when I'd got my own house with my son, and we were getting into our own little like flow of things, I suppose. And I found that the face painting really was what brought me the most joy because it was that instant gratification of showing someone the mirror. I mean, you'll know, and then they see it and they go, "Wow!" Whereas if you're painting a canvas, you could be working on it for months, and
Mm.
you might never see the reaction, or it might never sell. So, yeah, I thought I'd found something that was really such a treasure to be able to do something creative that you love and that brings you and the person that you're working with so much joy.
And it's quite, I was saying this the other day actually, it's quite a high dopamine job, isn't it? Because you're doing the mirror moment sort of every 5 minutes
Yeah.
or faster in speed painting. Whereas you could spend weeks perfecting a canvas and still never really be happy with it when it's finished. So long, the kid's gone. You
Yeah.
can't overanalyze what you've done too much because they're off and they're happy. Yeah, it's, I find it a very fulfilling job, being able to do the creative side of it as well. And I think it's not just the creative side. For me, it's the business side as well. But we all know it's equally as important. But I find the business side of it really fulfilling as well. You won the Prince's Trust Enterprise Award in 2019. When did you
Yeah.
start face painting?
So I did the school event when it was 2012. So that was like the
Mm.
very first face painting. And then I started painting in 2014, and then I launched the business, like I established the business as Fantastic Faces in 2016. Yeah.
So within 2 years, you win an award. That's incredible.
Yeah. So the Prince's Trust, it was an enterprise course that someone had recommended. So for any artists out there or any budding entrepreneurs that are under the age of 30, that's the only hook. But at the time, obviously, I was 21 and was I was on the breadline. I was using food banks every week. I was really skint. I was absolutely skint. I had nothing to my name. I thrifted everything. I got given so many handouts for setting up the home for me and my son. And so I really had not even 20 quid to pull together to get a business started. And someone had recommended me the Prince's Trust. So it was a 4-day enterprise course, which I went to. And they taught me everything from setting up on self-employed to profit and loss and marketing. Like they covered everything, but on a really sort of like soft basis. Because it was for young people, and so they
Mm.
didn't do everything all at once, but it was like a really soft skills
Was it an
entry
evening
level.
course?
It was a daytime
Oh,
course.
cool.
And so I went and I learnt loads and I really enjoyed it. And at the time, I don't think they had any funding available. So I said to the guy who ran it, I said, "Look, if you ever get any funding, please let me know." Because there was lots of cuts at the time. I
Mm.
said, and I'll apply for them because I really need it at the moment. And one thing I always say to people, I work as a business coach now. So one thing I always say is don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't
Yeah.
be afraid to look for those opportunities. And sure enough, within a month, he came back to me, said, "Look, there's the opportunity for 2 grants. There's one that's Will It Work, which was like 150 quid." So it was a small grant, but it allowed me to buy my first face painting kit that was, really beautiful brushes and gorgeous paints that I'd seen people using online. And then I did a market stall, so that paid for the pitch fee for the market. And will it work? Well, it did because I doubled the money. So I said, look, I've got £300 now rather than 150. So it proved that the business worked. And
Mm.
then if you were successful with that grant, you could then apply for like a capital grant, so an equipment grant. So that was £2,500. That was a massive amount of money for me at
Yeah.
that time. I
It's a
hadn't
massive
even
amount of money for me
seen
now.
that amount. Yeah, well, it was like I wouldn't have that amount of money in a year, let
Yeah,
alone in
yeah.
a one swoop
And with
for
that, you
people who
can really
believed.
invest in some proper
Yeah.
kit and
So
stuff that's really gonna help the business.
I had to write a business plan, which I'd never done before, so I got support doing that. I said that I wanted a gazebo, I wanted uniform, all these
Mm.
things that were gonna elevate my business to the next level. Because at that time, I think I'll send you a picture, but I had like a little suitcase that I'd painted with chalk paint, and
Oh,
honestly, it had like gaffer tape that was rainbow. It was really cute, but it was it was such like a bodge job. So I'll send a picture of that, and you can pop it on
oh,
somewhere on the
my
video.
first case
So
was,
fab.
a converted, like, guitar case, but I love it. I
Yes,
can't bear to get rid of it. I don't use it anymore, but I'm like, I
I
don't
use
wanna get
that now.
rid of
I use a
it.
guitar case now. So I've got some craft and goes, but my
Mm,
working kit for when I'm at festivals is always it's a guitar case because it's just
yeah, yeah.
such a good
They work
amount of
really
space.
well.
Yeah.
The reason I got rid of mine is because I think mine's actually well, not very I don't know music instruments. I think it's a bass case, so the handle isn't central,
Oh,
it's off.
so
So,
yeah,
that's literally the only reason I wanted to change it was because you pick it up and then you get swung, and then I'd put my
yeah.
back out.
And then all the
And
contents. So I'd done their business plan and I'd applied and I was successful in getting that grant. And so that gave me a real boost. And then from the Prince's Trust, I then went on the FEO business course. So that's a local course that's free to business owners for entrepreneurs only, it's called.
what's that?
And
The
that's where
SEO?
FEO, yeah. It's local to Hull and East Yorkshire,
Mhm.
and it's a group of really supportive business owners who run the course for free and they offer advice, guidance, you can get mentors. That's where I met my partner. And from there, I then became a member of the FEO and I then taught on the courses eventually. So, yeah, that was a real foot in the door there. And then I went on to win the National Market Traders Award in 2021 and
Mm,
the Hull and East Yorkshire Business Award for Young Entrepreneur in 2021. And that was massive because
yeah.
there were people that were nominated for that award in that industry that would say out loud, "Oh God, she's just a face painter." It was such a shock that I won that
Mm,
award, but I'd had such tenacity to keep going, even though despite all the things that I'd been faced with. And then in 2022, I won the Grit Award, which again, that's a local award and it celebrates people who've overcome massive adversity because I've survived DV. I've been a single parent alongside multiple other things from my youth that I'd survived. Running alongside my day to day, I deal with chronic illness, both physical and mental. I'm able to advocate for that and support others in that. So it was such an honour to be recognised for that. I know that I've got the tenacity,
mm.
but it took me a long time to believe that I'm worth that recognition.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it, to, especially from the sounds of everything you've been through, to rebuild up your own self-esteem and recognize exactly what you've achieved because and that's in such a short amount of time as well. What a
Mm.
few years, and I bet when you were at that time, if you'd have thought 10 years ago that you'd be in that position, like
No, not a chance. I'd never believed that I would run my own business. I'd never
yeah,
believed that I'd be working in something creative or that I'd be able to, have savings, a
mhm,
pension, things that I would never. have thought I could even dream of.
So when you started doing the face painting as a business then, did you start out as a side hustle or did you just say, I'm going to go for it, I'm going to do this as a business?
So I have always approached everything that I do with a real, like, it's always been serious. Like, I've
Mm,
never been like, oh, it's just like a little side hustle. Like, everything that I do with my whole heart, which is why I kind of feel so deeply about my business and
mm,
my sense of self as an artist. When I very first started, I was universal credit, the bread line, and I had a period of time where I think I was like self-employed and, doing enough work so that eventually, once my business excelled, I was able to come off universal credit completely. But that took a couple of years to get that
mm,
balance right for me to be confident enough in my skills that I could make that money every month. And I mean, now it's a different kettle of fish. It's like such a bigger thing than, will I be able to
yeah,
make my rent this month? Um, yeah, it takes time, but I've always come at it as a serious, I really want to do this. So
mm.
yeah.
At what point did you get to a position in the business where you thought, oh, I'm going to be able to employ other people or I need to employ other people to help?
So I've always had people on hand to support me.
Mm,
Probably just before the lockdown, I was starting to employ people for various events, whether it be subcontractors or just, have someone on hand to support me. And then post lockdown really was when I thought, right, I'm gonna grab grab the bull by the horns and really make this work.
yeah,
I moved into my business premises after lockdown, and that, I need to make sure that the business is earning thousands a month so that I can meet the overheads and break
yeah,
even. So then I thought, right, well, I can't on my own make thousands a month because there's only so many faces I can paint.
yeah,
I'm gonna have to hire people. So I hired more and more people, and then I ended up having to, hire a manager at one point. Yeah, I think post lockdown there was a lot of artists that were scared to paint and that didn't want to come back into the world of painting.
mm,
But I was so grateful to be able to do what I loved again. And I think it
yeah,
was the 24th of May 2021, if I can remember correctly, because I was literally counting down 3 hours. It was the same as when beauticians were able to go back to
oh
work,
yeah,
and that summer was absolutely heaving. Like, I was so busy with events, and then from there, I think the October time, I trained up a team, little mini team, and then, yeah, I got the premises in the January, and then it snowballed from there.
wow. And what was the vision when you got the premises? What did you want it to be? Was it always going to be like a party event venue space? Does that make sense?
So the like ultimate vision was to have fantastic faces in every single city. So have a
Mm,
premises like that and a team like that in
wow.
every city across the UK. That was at that time. That was the vision. I mean, I have a lot of stuff. I'm like a secret, or not a secret hoarder, but like I just have so much stuff,
There's no
so much
secret. You're just a
brushes.
hoarder.
Yeah, brushes, paint, you name it, I've got thousands. I'd moved in with my partner in 2019, and I had like it was like a little really rubbish unit in like a scabby business park down a back alley. Do you know, like one of them where there's
Yeah.
white van men, and it was just awful. But it was like £100 a month, and so I
Mm,
was like, right, this will do me for now. But my partner said, look, you can't have all your business stuff at home because there's gazebo, all sort of too much.
yeah.
So I found that little unit, but the landlord there was a bit chauvinistic. He was a bit misogynistic, and I was the only female tenant. So I was getting to a point where I was like, look, it's only me that you ever have arguments with. It's only me that you ever collar in the corridor. And I literally had like a little box room where I did my painting, like canvas painting, and I kept my gazebo. And I had to use this clunky lift that was like, no humans allowed in this lift, just a gazebo, because it was on the top floor. It was awful. But I got to a point where I was like, I really need somewhere that's like I want to bring people into, because I did my first lot
Mm,
of training in that like room in this industrial estate, and then I really wanted to be able to do training and have parties and do art classes and things like that. And my partner had moved into this studio here in, I think, the October time, and I looked around, I got really jealous, and I was like, "Right, I need something like this." So then I
I don't
marched.
want to
This
go
was
back to my unit.
literally. So I think I'd just won the business award as well, so I had my massive, like, high horse, and I marched the landlord round, who, by the way, he's worth, like, a few million quid, like, he's a real heavy hitter in Hull. So I marched him round, I said, "Which units have you got available?" And, I saw my unit and I was like, "Oh, this is nice. This is really nice. Yeah, how much is this one?" And he was like, "Oh, it's just over 1,000 a month." And I was paying 100 a month at the time, and I was like, "But I really want it." And so I don't know whether it was madness, whatever it was, I was like, "Right, I'll take it. Yeah, that's fine." So then I fully had committed to this premises for, I think I'd got a 12-month lease, and we're on 5-year leases now, and it's gone up since then. But yeah, I think it was just that tenacity of wanting to be like,
Mm.
"Yeah, I'm gonna do it." So, yeah.
Well, it sounds like that's why you're doing so well because you're just being brave. Sometimes it's really hard to be brave, isn't it? When I said to my friends and family, like, oh, I think I'm actually going to start a business and start actually doing this, I think they thought it was a joke. I mean, I am known for having a new hobby every every few months and a new hyper focus on something. But I think everyone thought I was absolutely bananas, but I went for it anyway and I did it. And now they're all like, oh, yeah, fair play. Fair play. You did it. You took the leap. You created a business. And it's that getting that idea in your head and just going for it and having the
Yeah.
self belief that I'm just going to go for it. I really want this big unit. So
If
I'm
you
going to
let
have that
other
big unit.
people's opinions or what you think they might be thinking, if you let that shroud your, thoughts or your vision, then you're only gonna lose lose because, like, what other people think is none of your business at all, and,
Mm,
like, for me, it's taken me a long time to realise that and overcome those demons of, "Oh god, well, this person said this." I'm living every day, I'm coming into work, I'm putting in the hours, and I'm
mm,
doing what I love, and, like, I will never stop face painting because I think I found such a special, wonderful job that just
yeah.
makes me so happy.
Yeah, I completely agree. I love it. I really love it. Like, and I've said before, I love it so much that I have to sort of be strict with myself and try and make sure that I remember I'm running it as a business because I'd quite happily paint faces all day. I mean, sometimes I take the kids to the park and I just do it for fun while my kids are playing because then I don't have to push them on the swings. That's the reality of it. But, but I love, 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 love painting. Yeah. Like I'm now like, "Oh, I wish I could do it this
Why
afternoon."
can't we paint now? Well, I was supposed to have a weekend off this weekend, and then I ended up getting a last minute job, and oh my god, I painted so much that on Monday I just wanted to lie in a dark room and speak to nobody. So
It's
I
like that at
think
the
it,
end
it
of like a
swings and
pumpkin.
roundabouts.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's normally at the end of the
yeah,
pumpkin patch. It's like, "Oh, I don't want to do any more Frankenstein." But I wanted to ask you about building the business as a single parent. You touched on it earlier about the juggle of childcare and making it
yeah.
work. I mean, so I've got 3 children and childcare's a nightmare for me, and my husband and I have been together from sort of like the beginning. So
Mhm.
I've got no idea how I wouldn't even know where to begin trying to do the juggle of being the only one, and like you said, a baby
Yeah.
that cries because they just don't stop crying. There's so much crying. Nobody warned me, but, and then trying to build a business and do everything
Yeah.
else as well.
Yeah, I mean, I was 21 when I had my son,
Mm,
and I was very naive, into thinking that, yeah, I mean, it was obviously it was a it was unplanned, quite a surprise. Motherhood was not on my map, on my radar even, but all of a sudden I was like, right, okay, this is my new job. So it was getting to grips with being a mother and how to do that where I'm not going to permanently damage my child psychologically. But also, I really had this desire to be more than I was because I'd been such a shell of myself for
mm,
the sort of 2 or 3 years running up to that point. and I had a real difficult time with my mental health. I had some like mental breakdowns, and I was hospitalised, before I met my partner at the time. So it was a really traumatic period of my life. Being able to be out of the house and find my own place, my own voice, my own sense of self, that was imperative. So everything else kind of was a bit by the wayside. So, for example, I thought that it would be really good if I could just bring him along because I'm a child's entertainer, and you can bring your kids along because there's so many kids at this party. That was an absolutely terrible idea, as I'm sure people who are
I've done that
listening will have
too.
tried. Yeah, will have
You find
tried.
out the hard way.
Yeah, of course you do. And so the party, there was only one party that I did that at, but I didn't charge them for it because my son it was so difficult and he was very, very full on. I mean, I later found out he was diagnosed with autism and ADHD, so I know that now. But at the
Mm,
time, I just thought, oh my God, this is so. I mean, it's difficult even when your child is neurotypical child, but for being a single parent with a neurodiverse child and almost being in denial of that those SEN needs and how demanding it was. It was really difficult to juggle. I ended up in the end finding a nanny, finding like a person who did childcare on a weekend that would come and look after my son while I went off to go and face paint and work and trying to build up that business. And I ended up on multiple occasions paying more to the childminder than I actually earned, so I'd make a
mm.
loss. And for me, obviously it was frustrating, but in that period where I was trying to build up the brand recognition and I was trying to, I had this desire to be out of the house and doing something. I didn't really have many friends either because a lot of my friends had gone off to university,
Yeah.
and obviously I was in a different
You're living a
situation
very
entirely.
different life to them at that
Yeah,
point, right?
and, like, the mums at the baby groups, they were all in their, like, late 30s and early 40s, and they were like, "Oh
Yeah.
god, you're the young one," and it was such a isolating period of time. So, yeah, while I was building it up, I ended up spending quite a lot in the childcare. But, I mean, if I were to speak to someone in that situation, given the knowledge I have now, I'd say look for childcare grants because there are government childcare grants available for those parents who are working
Mm.
or who are on benefits. I had some different courses that I accessed that actually paid for the childcare while I was on the course. So while I was building up my knowledge of employment, um, there was a course
How
that I
did
went
you
on.
find Sorry, how did
Go
you
on.
find out about all of these courses?
Um, I Googled. I went into the job centre with my baby in tow and I said, "Look, I really wanna work. I really wanna do a job, anything at the moment." And they'd said, "Oh, there's this course. It's a 12-week course and it gives you your food hygiene, your health and safety." And it was nothing that I actually wanted to do, but I'd just been in a period of time where I'd come out of such a difficult relationship that I had no confidence. I had no
Mm.
friends. I had nobody to no network of support. And so I went on this. It was called Cat Zero. It was like a 12-week course, and it helped lots of various people in various situations that were like a bit unfortunate. And actually, from there, I got given a newfound confidence. And I now they asked me, it was their 15-year anniversary last year and the year before. And the chair of the trustees came up to me and said, "Oh, we find what you've done so inspiring, and we'd love you to sit on the board of trustees." So now I'm an active trustee
It's
as a past
amazing.
participant of this thing that really helped me at that period of time. So it's like a full circle moment. But yeah, I'd say just try and find out about the support that's available. You can look on DirectGov for funding for childcare. Try and network with local parents that have kids of similar age, because I know that a lot of people do in the school holidays. I was never part of this, but I know parents that do, where they'll have a group of 5 kids, and one day one parent has them all, next parent.
Mm.
So it gets swapped between 5 different homes. So then you get 4 days where you're child free. And that works for some parents that I know. Or if you do have a child with SEN, you can potentially get funding from the local council to have like a personal assistant for your child and things like that. So yeah, there's lots of opportunities for people who want to work but are struggling with the childcare element. I essentially, for a long time, balanced that government support, so universal credit, tax credits, whatever it was, with the income that I was earning until it tipped the scales where I was earning more than I needed, and then I was able to withdraw that funding. So
So you said you do coaching and business coaching now. As part of that, do you have any like grants or schemes, I suppose, that you recommend that people have a look at as part of setting up a business? Or are there any that sort of like the I'm too old for the Prince's Trust now, which I find insulting.
so am I.
But if I were younger, obviously that would be a great example. But are there any other ones that you'd recommend?
Yes, I've worked as a business coach and mentor. I love to work specifically with face painters because that's what I know and what I love. But I've been asked by the whole university to work and mentor on some of their creative growth programs. So it's something that I do quite often. And I have a couple of gaps for clients, but it's a waiting list. So it's September that I've got spaces, and I work one to one with people either on a weekly basis or on a monthly basis,
Mm,
checking in. So with that, you get coaching and advice on how to grow your business and different funding pots. What I'd recommend to people is to look at their local business enterprise centre. So everything is sort of specific to your business area. Local business networking groups, I mentioned the FEO in my area, but each like council or county will have their own version of that. Local libraries, they have support for businesses. Then I can go into a bit more in-depth knowledge for the clients that I work one-to-one with. But finding out as much as you can from people who've been there is the
mm.
best way to start. Just ask the questions.
What investments off the back of that knowledge then that you got from like the schemes and the courses and the grants, what were the some of the best investments that you made into your business that helped not so much level it
Elevate it.
up, but yeah,
Yeah.
take it to that next step of where it's not just one party booking at the weekend and it starts operating like a business?
So one of the main, well, it's probably obvious to all business owners, but it's a branded van. I mean, I had my van branded in 2022,
Yeah.
and it's like a bright rainbow. You can't miss it. And kids in the area that I live in, they'll all wave at the rainbow van. I mean, plumbers and builders, they always have
Yeah.
their name and contact details on the van. It allowed me to carry more equipment. So it was, an upgrade so that I could carry my gazebo and more equipment if I'm doing festivals. But then it's a walking, talking advertisement. I mean, God forbid I ever park on double yellows because it will be all over the Facebook page of bad parking. Yeah, you have to be mindful of that and no road rage.
Yeah.
Yeah, a van was one of the first things. Zebras that are branded, that's another thing that I definitely would invest in. And then like business education, business groups, business networking, these all cost a bit of money to enter.
Mm.
But then you're in rooms with people who are turning over millions, if not billions of pounds, that are
Wow.
talking to you as if they're a peer and offering you really key advice on, how to grow your business, which is, one of the reasons why I grew so quickly was because I was in a room full of people saying, when are you going to grow? What's your next thing? What's your turnover? And if you're surrounded by people who are, so much more knowledgeable because they've been
Mm.
around for 50 years in the businesses and they offer you that level of respect that you're then able to give back. Because when I first started going to these, literally people would say to me, bless, you're just a face painter. I never thought your business would work. And then as I started winning the awards and I started telling my story and what I'd actually been
Mm.
through, these people, these like male, pale and stale business owners, um, because how many is it? It's 50% of businesses fail in the first 5 years, and 70% have failed by year 10. So if you're able to sort of bite the bullet and find out as much as you can, that's
Mm.
the best investment that you're going to do.
So you manage a team now at your premises for your party bookings, and because you offer different party packages, don't you? And training and stuff. So I was thinking about if you had any advice for any painters that are interested in managing a team, because we're all sort of quite used to working by ourselves usually,
Mhm.
unless it's a larger event. So do you have any advice for painters who might be looking to not subcontract? Oh, I suppose it is subcontract. So say they've got a bigger event coming up and they need two additional painters. Do you have any
Mhm.
advice on the organising and managing of that.
Yeah, it's a different kettle of fish to being an artist in itself. And I mean,
Yeah.
I love being a face painter. I love painting. I love being an artist. But managing a team, you essentially become a manager. You become
Mm,
all eyes on HR. You've got to delegate. You've got to be very clear at communications. If you are managing a team, there's a couple of different ways you could do it. I employ people primarily, so I put people through the training. I have a HR. I have policies and procedures,
mm,
everything, and I will pay them a set hourly rate per hour that comes straight from my company, and it goes through a payroll system, so it goes through my accountant, and it's it's a lot more tricky than having a
mm,
subcontractor. I also have subcontractors that work with me, and if people are doing it that way, I'd say the best thing is to make sure you get people that are of a similar standard to you working. So have a look at their work, have a look at what sort of things they are posting. Um, Check on like their speed. So I've had some people who might not necessarily be as quick as I need them to be. So check how quickly they can paint and ask them to be honest about that. And have a contract in place beforehand so that you're making sure that everyone knows where they need to be, what hours they're working, and when they're finishing, and what the rate of pay is. Because otherwise, those communication lines can get a bit hazy, and that's where the
yeah.
complications come in.
Have you had any hard lessons when it comes to hiring or team management? And that's
So
no, I don't
many.
wanna yeah, I don't want it to be like throwing shade or anything, but managing people is difficult. So, any hard lessons that you sort of thought, "I didn't handle that terribly well. In future, I'm gonna do it like this."
Yeah, so I mean, I've learnt so much. I've been in the industry again, like nearly 12 years now. Over that time, I've dealt with a wealth of different situations. The one thing I'd say, the main thing is recruitment is a job in itself. So if you're
Mm,
hiring people, you need to go through the proper recruitment procedures. When I first started hiring people, I was like, "Oh, you're my friend, I like you," or "Oh, I like what you're wearing. Why don't you wear like?" I had no idea about hiring people, and I just was giving out contracts willy-nilly, and I was like, oh yeah, you can work with me, you can work with me," it was I just didn't have a clue about recruitment, so that's a real skill set in itself. You need
mm,
to interview people, you need to find out what the references are, you need to check that they've got a good work ethic, that they're trustworthy. It's a real specific talent in itself to be able to
mm,
recruit. Another thing that you will need, or that I have learned the hard way, is that you need to have someone in HR that's on hand. So at one point, I was managing a team of about 20 people. This was including, I think there was 15 employees and then about 5 or 6 subcontractors. And within that, you have multiple things that you will need to know, like about employment law, about policies. I had a HR manager that was on hand to support me with that because I hadn't employed anyone before, so I didn't
mm,
know. And then I had a really good accountant as well who helps with things like the payroll, like the tax. So once you get VAT registered, so you have to um, apply to be VAT registered before you hit that turnover. I think it's 90,000 now, but I was VAT registered maybe about 5 years ago now, and I am amazing at painting but terrible at maths. So I had to have someone in that role that was able to support me with the growth of the business because I had no idea that I could claim back things. I've got a pension now that I pay into every year, and it's how you can make your business work for you financially
yeah.
rather than feeling like you can never pay yourself a wage. It's all got to go on the paint. That's not the case at all.
And that's really approaching it from a business perspective, isn't it? This is a business.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to think like you're doing it because you love it, yes.
Mm,
But does anyone else go to work because they love it and they will be a martyr and never pay themselves? I don't think you're going to be seeing people at Tesco's like, "Oh no, it's all right. Don't pay me the hourly rate. I'll come in on my." It's
yeah,
not
yeah.
the same. So you've got to treat it with respect, like a business, like a job,
Mm,
because essentially you're planting the seeds that are going to work for you in the future. So I have like a pension set up. I have a financial advisor. I pay myself a set wage every year, and then I pay myself dividends on top of that, depending on how the year's gone. I analyze every month or every quarter what worked, what didn't, which clients worked, which clients didn't, because I've had some clients that have been amazing financially, but were really difficult to work.
Yeah.
So it's weighing up whether you need that money enough to tolerate the constant bombardment of emails and admin and everything else that goes with it, or whether it's worth releasing that and thinking, right, which clients bring me the most joy? Who do I like working with? What jobs do I like? So yeah,
And where did you was it through the grants and the courses that you did that you learn about the dividends and paying yourself a wage and setting up the pension? Or did you was that after you've got yourself a financial advisor?
that was that was a financial advisor. It was only
Mm.
2024 when I got a financial advisor. She said to me like, "Oh God, you haven't got a pension, you haven't got this, you haven't got that. Are you paying any dividend? Are you doing it?" And it was, yeah,
Mm.
it was through speaking to people who, again, they've been in businesses a long
Yeah.
time, but as face painters and as sort of female business owners, it's not something that is an open discussion, which I think really, you need to charge your worth and you need to be earning enough that it makes it worth you giving up your weekends with your
Mm.
family. My son is now coming up to 12. His voice has dropped an octave. He's calling me bro, and I've lost so many years with with this. It's your time that
Yeah.
you're sacrificing, so you need to be compensated for that.
And what does a typical week look like for you now compared to when you first started then?
So yeah, I work full time on the business.
Mm.
So during the week, I will be in meetings like this. We'll be doing podcasts, or we'll be
Mm.
doing admin, or we'll be sorting out what we've got for the weekend coming up, or what's in the future coming up. It's every hour is kind of delegated to different parts of the business. I have coaching clients in the week. I film different like content for. I've started my YouTube.
That's
So yeah,
exciting.
I'm filming a series at the moment called The Brush Vault, where I'm reviewing different brushes.
Oh, I
But
like
yeah,
that.
so the time is filled up during the week. And then the weekend, obviously, I'm working. I do various events. I either do festivals or sort of community events. It depends on what I'm doing. And then I have boards as well, the charity boards that I sit on.
Mm.
So I sit on two charity boards now. So I dedicate a lot of time and integrity to those because I believe that I'm at a point now where I'm able to give back some time.
Do you have any downtime?
But well,
Because from what you
in
just
my
said.
it's very difficult for me to stop. I usually take January through till April off work, so I have 3 or 4 months off at the start of the year.
Right.
This year I had, a surgery that I was recovering from, so I had to have downtime, and yeah, it was interesting not to be able to actually physically work. And then in my personal life, I've got obviously my son who's got SEN, and he's
Mm.
just gone into, like, a specialist, secondary school, so that's been quite demanding on a personal level, and we're in the midst of moving house as well. So I do get a lot of time. No, I have a really nice bathroom, and every night I have a lovely bath, and I sit and I think about all the wonderful things that I've done in the day. But I find it really difficult to switch off. I mean, I'm neurodiverse. So I've got ADHD, and it's almost like I've got a million tabs open at once.
Yeah.
And for me, switching off isn't really something that I enjoy doing. I like thinking about new ways that I can innovate the business or what I can do to level up. And that is exciting to me. So that's almost better than sitting and watching a
Mm.
Netflix series, I suppose.
I mean, I do exactly the same. But we were late recording this podcast today because I'm just time blind, and I didn't get home until 20 minutes before we were supposed to record, and then I couldn't find one of my AirPods, so I've only got one in, and
Yeah.
then I had to restart my computer, and I just think I've got more time in the day than I probably really have, and I pack so much into it, and a lot of the time I feel like I'm on a hamster wheel, and it's fine because I can keep running, I can keep up, but then obviously the wheel just then turns faster, and I'm constantly doing about 8,000 things at once, and I've always got those tabs open. And a lot of the time I do it because if I leave the tabs open and I think, well, then I'll remember to finish it, and I'll remember
The
to go back
safe.
and look at that. So I
Yeah.
just leave that there.
I mean, I take Mondays off. So my advice for anyone to kind of if they are working at a level where they're working on it full time, I tend to always have Mondays off as like a body reset day because
Mm.
I have fibromyalgia. So after I've worked on a weekend, I get a really bad
Need recovery.
flare up, and I need that time for recovery. And then when it's the busy season, I'll book in massages every sort of
Mhm.
6 weeks. I'll have a full body massage, which that was game changing because my shoulders and my back really struggle. And then talking therapies as well. Like it can be very stressful running your own business, and not everyone wants to hear about how many faces you painted and how annoying it was.
Mm.
But if you need that space to speak to people or you're feeling stressed, overwhelmed, anxious, I massively advocate for giving yourself that mental space and time to have a therapy session. There are free therapists that you can access through the NHS, or you can go privately as well, which I mean, I do a mixture of both as and when I need it, but that
Mm.
helps me mentally reset if I'm worried or anxious or stressed about a particular event or, situation.
And do you find that that helps avoid like a burnout situation? Because from most people I speak to, that's what we do is we go, 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 go until our body says stop.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to plan days into my calendar. So, especially during the height of the season, because from end of April, right through till December, every week I have something, whether it be a festival, a pumpkin patch, a Christmas grotto, whatever it is.
Mm.
And it's full on in that time. There's rarely time to catch your breath. You're on to the next season straight away, which I love. It's something that I thrive off, that like
Mm.
pressure and the thrill of the chase. But if I don't block time into my diary and say, right, this is a family day, this is when we're going, because I went for years and never had a holiday. And
Mm.
I've only just been on a plane this year. I've not been on a plane for 9 years because I was that busy working. I didn't have a holiday, and so it's making sure that you put that in your diary as that self care time, because otherwise, like I burnt out a few years ago. I got really, really unwell. I got sucked into a lot of online drama, and I was constantly, using all these social pages,
Mm.
and I got so unwell after it. I put on loads of weight. I was really ill mentally, physically, emotionally, just drained. And it's only been able to take a step back and think, right, what do I need? What does Millie need? Not business owner, not mum. What do
Mm.
I need to ensure that I'm calm and well and safe? So
Yeah.
yeah.
It's easy to feel like you get sucked into the social media pages. Like you just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And I have to be quite disciplined with myself and put it down. So if I get in the bath, I try not to take my phone with me because otherwise the bath's gone cold and I'm
Mm.
still scrolling through
Yeah.
absolute crap, to be honest. And then you sort of start to live in your head a little bit in this social media world instead of remembering that for me, most important things in my world are the people that live inside this house with me. They are
Mhm.
my little world and the business that I'm building and the life. The reason I'm building the business is because I want to be able to go on holiday with the children. I want to be able to do nicer things. We'd like to buy a slightly bigger house so it's not like bursting at the seams all the time. And I was saying to you earlier, I got married last year. So I'm trying to make sure we've paid off the wedding so that we can hopefully go on a nice holiday and then look at getting a bigger house. That's what's important to me. That's my reality.
Mm.
And I so often like get sucked into other things happening on social media. And that's not just in the face painting world. Sometimes before you know it, I'm down a rabbit hole finding everything there is to know about some celebrity that I don't care about. And I have to sort of like reground myself and be like, no, do you know what? What's important is me and my journey and what I'm building and why I'm doing that. And especially because what you see on social media is just a curated snapshot of someone else's life as well. So I see it as so many beautiful designs on social media and so many lovely face paints. And then I get in my own head and think, oh my God, why can't I paint like that? And I think, nope, not looking. We don't do that
Mm.
anymore. We don't do that. We carry on looking at what I can do better from my own work. And that's what I'm trying to do is compare to something I painted 6 months ago to what I painted today. And has that improved? I'm not comparing to anybody else anymore.
Yeah, I think comparison is like the thief of joy. So for me, I've been in that situation before where I've got sucked into things, and also people only know usually half the story or one side to the story. So it's really difficult to make an instant knee-jerk reaction to something
Mm.
that you don't really know everything about. Um, so I try at the moment, I'm getting better at it, but I try and just think about what I want to post as a business, post it, and then exit. But
Yeah.
it's easier said than done because
Yeah.
yeah, it's tricky. But none of these people are going to pay your bills. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I
they're
wish
not.
someone would pay for my
Yeah,
wedding.
yeah,
But here we are.
yeah.
It was a great day. It was a great day. I don't regret a second.
Well, speaking of goals, though, it's really important to have those goals in mind because
Yeah.
I, me and my partner, we've just we're moving to a bigger house now, and that's through my work as a face painter. You know, I've saved up and I've enabled us to be able to move to the next house along, and it'll give us that freedom. It'll give us a bit more space. But it's only something that we've been able to do because of fantastic faces in my business,
Mm.
and that's something that I'm so proud of.
Is that what you'd say you're the most proud of when you look back at everything you've built?
I think I
What would
mean,
you be
if
most
I were
proud of?
to, yeah, if I were to have little 21-year-old Millie sat here with me today, I'd say, do you know what, that idea that you had for face painting, it's worked. You're running a successful business. It's been going for over 10 years, which is better than 70% of all
Mm.
startups. And you love what you do every day. Your son's happy and healthy. You're in a really loving, wonderful relationship, and you're good. You know, like you're safe, you're happy.
I saw this thing online the other day that said, if you were sat next to the 60-year-old version of yourself, what do you think they would say to you now?
Oh, I don't know. I'm doing my nana's voice in my head. Although it's my mum at 60, isn't it? It's my mum now rather than my nana.
What
Yeah, I think
advice do you think they'd give you?
what I'd if I was giving myself advice, if I was sat on my little deathbed like this,
I
with my
thought
blanket.
60.
I don't no, I'm going 80. I'm thinking, "Oh, do I have any regrets?" I think I'd say, you know, just keep smashing it. Don't worry about what anyone else is doing, and enjoy the journey. Make sure you've
Mm.
got time for yourself. Make sure you're appreciating all that life has to offer, not just the business, you know. Like take that time to go on holiday and do the things that because it's such a small window of time when you've got a family and they're young and
Yeah.
they're wanting to do stuff. And I mean, yeah, I just yeah, I think things take time, don't they? And like for me, this last few years finding a balance has been the most important thing because my well-being's improved. You know, I'm able to look after myself in a way that I never was before, and I'm doing jobs that I really enjoy with people that I really love. So yeah, just make time for you, I think would be the thing.
So there's a new thing that I thought of doing
Okay.
last night.
That's
So
nice.
yeah, I know, because this is I got an idea at like midnight. I
Yeah,
thought, oh, I'm going to do that tomorrow.
love
So
it.
just a little quick fire round. I thought to close off the episode. So I'll ask you some quick questions and you just quick answers. So
Okay, I'll try
all
my
fun
best.
stuff. I thought it was a nice light way to end the episode. Okay. So quick fire. Glitter or gems?
Gems. You make money from the gems. They're an upsell. Of course it's gems.
You're
£4 a
the,
pop. It's gonna
you're
be
the
gems.
upsell queen. What's your favourite design to paint?
Butterfly. Or
Uh,
tiger. Depends.
at least favourite design request?
Oh my god, monkey.
I don't think I've ever had to pay one of those.
I hope no one ever yeah, I'm terrible, terrible, terrible.
Indoor venue or outdoor event?
Outdoor festival, always, as long as it's not raining.
Corporate event or community fair?
It depends on the corporation and it depends on my community. Corporate event, yeah.
Okay. Queue of 30 kids or one super detailed full face?
Queue of 30, let's make it
There's a
rain.
whack of yeah, I love that. Best investment you made in your business?
Ban, the ban.
Fun. Most chaotic that's not very quick fire, is it?
Oh, I wanna know, most chaotic. I was like,
Yeah,
that's
I
me.
was like, most chaotic gig you've ever worked, and then I was like, wow, I feel like then I want a story from it.
Oh god, yeah. Any free to public, thick of the city event, it's
Oh,
always chaotic. So it's like someone has paid you to be there. It's free to public, and it's in like the thick of a
Mm.
city, and it's one after the next, after the next, after the next. There's snot. There's
Oh, the visual there, Millie.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um,
I used to do loads of those, and they are always not bar none. They are always chaotic.
most underrated item in your kit.
My gem box, I'm gonna say, because I take a box of gems with me to every event that I wear, and if I'm working where I'm charging people, that little box can make me like 500 quid. Yeah,
Wow.
that's the most
The top
underrated,
tip.
I think.
And what's
Yeah.
your favourite bit of kit in your face paint case then?
Well, I make pom-pom mirrors, so
Okay.
I sell them, but yeah, I sit and glue little pom-poms onto mirrors. They're really cute. I'll send you the link. You can put it below. But every time I show a kid the face in the pom, oh, I love your mirror. I'm like, I made it myself. So yeah, that's
I love it. Um, okay, that's the end of the quick fire round. It's the first time I've done it, so but I
yeah,
like it. I'm gonna keep it in, I think, because
yeah,
yeah, it's just interesting to know like what you've got in your kit and stuff, isn't it? Like I'm nosy, so I'm like, oh,
yeah. It depends on the event. I'm always changing
yeah,
every
yeah.
time I change it. So yeah.
What's next for you then?
So I have got festival season next, which
Mhm.
is exciting. And then I have got an online course that I'll be launching September time.
That's
And
cool.
I am also doing my coaching clients one to one, which again I've got a wait list for, but I am full at the moment. But yeah, business coaching as well.
So
So
is the online course, is that coaching business or face paint business or tutorials?
there's different arms to it.
Everything.
So there's tutorials, so you can learn, what designs, which is like a standard online course, and then things like what's in your kit, what um, business advice you need. So there's different modules. But yeah, it's been a long time in the making, but it's coming. Yeah,
Well, I'll link all of your pages in the description and send me the Etsy link for the pom pom mirrors, and I'll link that too.
I will do. And then
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing all of your wonderful business knowledge with us. It's been lovely.
you're so welcome. Lovely to speak to you, Siobhan.
That's it for today's episode of Sponge Stories. If you found this helpful or it made you think, oh, thank God it's not just me, I'd love for you to share it with another face painter who needs to hear it. Don't forget to follow or subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. There's plenty more real talk and a bit more waffle coming your way. And if you've got a story, a question, or you'd even like to come on the podcast, you can email me at hello@spongecommunity.co.uk or send us a DM over on Instagram, Sponge Stories.